Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Please like and subscribe my channel for more awesome contents. Let's start the video. The first tragedy. Guam, Japan. Issei's room. Hyoudou residence. Anie-chan, wake up. Anie-chan, wake up. Anie-ch. The alarm clock went, until a hand stopped it. A young man groaned in his bed. I had the greatest dream about a pine that all went up in smoke. His name is Issei Hyoudou, a freshman in high school aged 15. A not-so-bad-looking brunette who could be quite the looker. If he weren't so perverted. Issei Hyoudou is not someone you would call restrained. In fact, he loves porn. Lots of porn. Especially when it comes to breasts. He and his friends Matsuda and Motohama like to peek on girls while they are dressing. Of course, they would never get away with it, since the middle school kendo club, their most frequent victims of their harassment, would always beat them up with their kendo sticks. But that wouldn't stop his perversion, oh no. He only got more determined to achieve his goal of becoming a harem king. Something he had always wished since elementary school. And that was why he was having this dream about a pie, only for him to once again return back to reality. After getting dressed for school, he went downstairs where his mom and dad were. "Good morning," Issei said his mom. "Morning mom, morning dad," Issei replied. "Good morning to you, son. Did you sleep well?" his father asked. "Yeah, I did. I actually did have quite the dream," Issei said with a goofy grin. "You fufu." Issei's mother giggled. "It's about girls again, isn't it?" "I'm sure it is," Issei's father replied with a smile. "Issei is probably dreaming about having a harem or something." "Mom. Dad. Stop it, you're embarrassing me," Issei said flustered. "But it's true, isn't it?" asked his mom. "Well. Yeah. I mean, who would not want a harem? So don't make fun of it." "We're not making fun of it," his dad said. "We just like how ambitious you get because of it." "Yes, we do," Issei's mom said. "Yes, we do. But anyway," she said, switching the subject, "your father and I got us tickets for the next showing of Parsifal. Isn't it great? And it starts at 5 p.m. today." Issei sighed. His parents loved opera and listened to librettos of all kind, while singing to it. Unfortunately, Issei got annoyed of hearing it, so he would go to his room and listen to music, in his room on his headphones, or go to one of his friend's house to watch porn. Thus, he had no intention of sitting through hours of opera howling. So he decided to make up an excuse. Sorry, but I was planning on going to Motohama's place later." Issei. His mom interrupts. "We bought tickets for all of us and they weren't cheap. Wouldn't it be a waste if you didn't go?" "Yeah, but," Issei tried to explain. "I hate opera. It's so long and to be honest I get bored with it real fast." "Well, then you've got to get used to it," his dad replied firmly. "Family time like this is precious and your mother and I want to make the most of it, together." Issei sighed, but his father puts a hand on his shoulder. "Son, you know your mom and I are busy with work. And I know you don't like opera, but it's just that the opportunity for it is something that doesn't come by very often." "I don't know, Dad," Issei responded. "Look, Motohama and Matsuda can wait some other time," Issei's dad said. "Besides, maybe we can do something you would like the next time." "Yeah," Issei said, before looking at the time. The clock said 7:45 a.m. He's going to be late for school. "Ah, crap," Issei shouted, causing his parents jump in surprise. "I'm gonna be late. Bye mom, bye dad." And so Issei runs out in a hurry. "Don't forget. Opera at 5. Come home after school so we can go immediately," Issei's mom says. "Okay," Issei shouts before hastily putting on his shoes, taking his school bag and running out. "Bye, son," his dad calls out before the door slams shut. Issei, if only he would stop peeping on the girls' locker room. Then his chances of getting a girlfriend would actually become a reality by now. Issei's dad said sadly. "Oh, don't worry," his wife said happily. He'll find a girlfriend. I'm sure of it. But now. She looked at him with a wide grin. Oh, yes. He looked at her grinning ear to ear, and together they started singing the final line of Wagner's Parsifal, Heilges Wonder. Meanwhile, on the way to school, stupid opera, so annoying. Issei murmured while hurrying to school. While Issei certainly loved his parents, he could not help but feel annoyed at his parents' insistence that he go to the opera with them. Sure, they wanted him to spend more time with them, but he could not help the feeling of being embarrassed of his doting parents. Besides, he really wanted to see the next 10 Time Moon episodes with them. Yes, that is a thing, though not in canon universe. Issei decided to put those thoughts aside for now, when he came across Matsuda and Motohama, who were also running to get to school on time. Hey, guys. You late, too? Issei panted. Yeah, said Matsuda, also panting. I just can't help it if I'm having the most wonderful dream about my little sister making love to me. He. Matsuda drooled. Wait. You don't have a little sister, Motohama said. I know. Matsuda interrupted him, crying manly tears in the process. That's why I said it was a dream. Issei only dropped a sweat at that. Be lucky you had a good dream, Motohama complained. Mine started out with a girl with the best 3 sizes you can find, only for the girl's 3 sizes grew to nightmarish proportions, before exploding in blood and guts. Motohama shuddered. Wow, that sucks, Matsuda said. Totally, Issei did. At least mine is about a pie. Lots of them. He. Oh yeah, a pie. Motohama replied. I can't wait to see all those pie again at the kendo club. Yeah, pie are the best. Matsuda agreed. I totally can't wait, pie. The 3 shouted, as onlookers stopped to stare at them. What? We like pie. Pie are the best. And nothing will change that. Issei said to the onlookers, who whispered to themselves before leaving. Seriously, though. I can't wait to see them. Matsuda said. Yeah. Though. Guys? Why did we stop? Issei asked. Motohama and Matsuda looked at him confused until they looked at the time. Crap, we're late. They shouted in unison as they ran to school with everything they had. All right, who can tell me when? Why? The perverted trio shouted as they broke the door from its hinges, as they were desperate not to be late, thus interrupting the teacher. The whole class jumped in surprise as the door hit the ground. Matsuda, Motohama and Issei. You're late. Where the hell were you? And why did you break the door? The teacher shouted angrily. We're sorry. We all just had the best dreams of our lives. Matsuda and Issei shouted together. Not me though, I had a terrible nightmare. Motohama added. Will you be quiet? The teacher shouted, causing them to shut up. After calming down, the teacher looks at them sternly and says, You 3 will sit down, right now, you will stay here and not cause any more trouble. I will go to the principal's office and the student council to notify them about this incident. The perverted trio went in response when they heard that the student council was going to know. The reason for that is because they had been at the receiving end of student council's discipline under Sound Issei Hyoudou, the student council president. Most of the time it had been because of their constant peeping attempts, and because they would arrive late, too. Nevertheless, they got up and sat their desks, while the teacher left the room disgusted, making sure not to trip over the fallen door. All the other students were whispering behind their backs. Perverts, not only are they disgusting creeps, but they are vandalizing the doors, too. I bet they were fantasizing about perverted fetishes of all kind. You think they could fantasizing about themselves having sex? We heard that. The 3 shouted, startling the others, thus silencing them for now. Say, guys. Whispered Matsuda. Yeah? Replied Issei. We're in deep trouble, aren't we? I'm afraid so, Matsuda Motohama said seriously. I'm afraid so. After 5 minutes or so, Issei, Matsuda and Motohama were sent to the student office by their class teacher. While they were on their way, Issei broke the news about how he had to cancel their plans after school. What? Why? The two perverts shouted. It's because my mom and dad wanted me to go see this opera play with them. Oh, yeah. Your parents always were opera fans. I can still remember them trying to sing some of the songs. Ugh. Motohama shuddered, remembering their cringe-worthy singing. Yeah, opera sucks. Not to mention their singing, Matsuda agreed. Tell me how long this opera was again? 4.5 hours, I think. Issei replied. Oh, come on. This is torture. It should be outlawed. How can anyone do something like this? Motohama complained. Yeah, who could come up with this and think that was a good idea? Matsuda added in. I don't know. Wagner? Issei asked. Wagner can suck, or will you two be quiet? A voice interrupted them. The perverted trio turned around and saw the source of the voice. It was the student council president Sauna Shitori with her unmistakable bob cut and spectacles. She always had this serious and intimidating aura, thus giving her this reputation befitting of a student council president. Despite that, she is still considered as one of the hottest girls at Gua Academy. Your shouting is disturbing the other classes by now. So shut up and follow me, she said, walking on ahead with the perverted trio in tow. Sigh. This day can't get any worse now, can it? Issei asked in a tired manner. I hope not. Matsuda replied despondently. They've gone through enough trouble for today, and they didn't even peek at the kendo club today. Oh, well. At least they could do it after the student council was through with them. You'll be punished by cleaning the schoolyard for the entire week during the breaks with no reprieve. Sauna said coldly. Breaking a door like that costs a lot of money. Consider this the least you could have done to repay the damage you've caused and for coming late. But, Keiku, what if get hungry? Issei asked. Then you can eat while you work and nothing less, understood? Yes, ma'am. The perverted trio said, depressed. Good, you may return to your classes now, she said before she turned around to deal with other matters. And so the perverted trio went out of the student council room fully depressed. Ah, man, first coming late, then my parents' opera, now this. It really did get worse. Issei complained. Yeah, and you know what the worst part of it all is? Motohama asked ominously. What? Matsuda inquired. We can't peep on the kendo club for the entire week. Silence overcame them all, brief moment, at least. What? Oh no. Later during the third break, the perverted trio were picking up trash with their trash pickers and pails. There may not have been a lot of trash lying around, but going around the schoolyard just finding all the bits and pieces of trash was annoying. And they had to do it on all their breaks for the rest of the week, and it was Monday, mind you. While they were doing their jobs, a group of girls came over and decided to have a little fun. Hey, look at you, snickered one of the girls, a brunette with a ponytail. Shut up, said Issei. We've got work to do. So if you don't mind, could you leave us alone, Murayama? Look who's talking, said the girl with pink hair next to Murayama. You like to peep on us, repeatedly. So why can't we have talked to you while you're working? Because Ippai are the best, Qissei, Matsuda exclaimed. They are our delight, our love, our everything. How could we possibly not see those jugs of yours? That comment caused the pink-haired girl called Qissei to glare at them. You do that, we'll wreck your balls, she threatened. Some of the other girls joined in, too. And break your legs. We'll make sure your arms are ripped off. We'll gouge your eyes out. The three boys flinched at their intimidation. But, thankfully, the girls decided to turn around and walk away with their noses in the air. The perverted trio just sighed in relief as they left and decided to focus on their work. Oh man. I was so hoping we could see their sexy lingerie, instead of being laughed at by them. Man, this sucks. Totally. Agreed. The three complained, Issei just wanting to end all this cleaning. Man, where does all this trash come from? Don't they know that there are bins around here? I mean, how hard is it to just throw them in the bin? Issei complained. Yeah, Motohama replied. But worst of all, we have to do this for the entire week, he said, sobbing. The other two joined, crying in a cartoonish manner. This isn't fair. Why does this happen to us? Matsuda wailed. Yeah, totally. Could it possibly get any worse? As if in response to his rhetorical question, the clouds start to rumble and turn gray. Issei. Issei's friends turned to him, growling, surprising Issei. What? What did I do? He asked. And he got his answer when the rain came falling down. Oh. We're never going to ask that question again. They yelled at him, before the three scampered to get inside. After class had ended, Issei, Matsuda and Motohama were walking back home. By then the rain had stopped, and so they didn't have any problems getting home wet. Their day had gone down the drain, ever since it began. And so, they walked home gloomily, completely depressed. Oh, man. Motohama complained. This has got to be the worst day ever. Not one thing has gone right. First we come late, then we get scolded and gossiped about in class, then we get sentenced to a week worth of breaks collecting trash, and now rain. Seriously, this day don't say it. Matsuda and Issei yelled, scaring Motohama. From now on, instead of worrying about what misfortune may come next, we should focus on the bright things that lie ahead. Motohama advised. Yeah, at least we all get to go home and enjoy the rest of the. Oh, no. Issei wavered off. What's wrong, Issei? Matsuda asked worriedly. The Parsifal opera at 5 p.m. I almost forgot about it. Issei exclaimed, horrified. Dude, just relax. Matsuda said calmly. Yeah, remember. Think positively. Think about something else, like a pie. Motohama said. Or legs, or girls' skirts, socks and leggings for their flexibility. Matsuda added. Dude, you sure have some unusual fetishes there. Issei replied dumbfoundedly. Well, yeah. They certainly are not common fetishes. Matsuda said, slightly embarrassed. But seriously, think about something good, Motohama continued. Otherwise it can only get worse. Like we saw today, Issei added. Then suddenly, Issei had an idea. I know. I can fall asleep. Yeah, why didn't we think of that? Motohama said. Yeah, it does sound like a good idea. But do you think you can actually, fall asleep? Matsuda asked. Well, I hope so, Issei replied. Though I hope the music won't bother me. I sure am glad I'm not going. Yeah, me too. Matsuda and Motohama replied respectively. A little later, they arrive at Issei's house, where they decide to part ways. I guess, here's where we'll part ways, Issei remarked. Yeah, I guess. Think you're gonna be alright? Matsuda asked. I guess so. Well, see you then, guys. Issei said as he went inside. Hey, Issei. Motohama called. Issei turned around. Think positively. Motohama said. Issei smiled in response, as he went inside and shut the door. Going inside, he greeted his parents, who seemed to be quite excited about the libretto this evening, before going into his room. Lying down on his bed, Issei thought about what Motohama and Matsuda told him about thinking positively. It sounded to him like a lot of wishful thinking. But then again, wasn't being a harem king also nothing more than wishful thinking? And if he still held on to his dream as harem king, why couldn't he have this? And so, Issei decided that he wasn't going to remain depressed. Instead, he was going forward. Getting up from his bed, he swore. He'll think positively. Later at 5 p.m. going from the Hyoudou residence, Issei and his parents leave for the Grand Old Theater in Kuwa. It is a place where all kinds of events like musicals, concerts, ballets and even operas take place. Issei always felt like this place was for people from the upper class, who in his eyes always liked to fancy suits and dresses, Speaking of which, he also hoped to see some Issei as well. That desire only increased the moment he saw the many girls and women in their nice dresses. He hoped some of them showed some nice cleavage. Issei and his parents themselves wore some clothes fitting for formal events, which made him feel less uncomfortable, seeing as they didn't stand out so much. After finding their seats in the hall, it would take quite a bit of time till the opera began because people were moving in great numbers. Meanwhile, Issei, being seated in the audience, just looking around in boredom, was hoping to just go home as soon as possible. I wonder how Matsuda and Motohama are doing. They must be having a lot of fun right now, Issei thought. There was no way he could see Issei where he was sitting, since there hardly were any people worth ogling at, and even if there were any he could not see them because the people before and behind him were blocking his view. Finally, the play began. And Issei just decided to distract himself by daydreaming. Unfortunately, the music was rather loud, which made it impossible for Issei to go to sleep. And so, he tried as a last resort to at least find something in the play worth being interested in. But the problem was he didn't understand what it was all about. His parents told him the play had something to do with the Holy Grail and a guy called Parsifal, or Percival as he is known in English. It didn't help him that the entire play was sung in German, which Issei didn't understand, of course. Luckily for him, he did fall asleep, while his parents still enjoyed the opera as it went on. By the time Issei woke up, they were at the last act, which Issei barely tolerated till it finished a half an hour later. As the curtains fell, the audience applauded. Issei sighed in relief. It was over. All the sitting around made his back uncomfortable. He couldn't wait to get back home, and so Issei put his coat on, got up and left with his parents and the rest of the audience. On the way home at 9:30 p.m. Issei, "I can't believe you just slept through the libretto." His mother scolded. "Sorry, Jan, I just had a hard time being interested, that's all," Issei said tiredly. "Well, Issei, you should always learn to appreciate other things in life, try something different or new, otherwise, you will never experience life to the fullest," his dad counseled with a smile. "Yeah, I guess so, Dad," Issei said nonchalantly. "Issei," his dad continued, "I know that you don't like opera, but I still think you should at least try to see the good things in everything, and everyone. Who knows, maybe you will never get the chance to see them again." Issei didn't reply, as they walked on. Eventually, they went into a dark deserted alley. "Dear, why are we going inside here?" Issei's mom asked worriedly. "It's a shortcut." "Don't be scared," Issei's dad said, but Issei and his mother still could not stop feeling uneasy. The alley was not only dark and deserted, but also smelly, littered with all kinds of trash lying around. As they went on, they see a street lantern with the light dimly shining. But to their horror, they saw a man wearing a hood and a street jacket, giving him a kind of thuggish appearance. He wasted no time, as he pulled a gun out and pointed it towards them. "Don't move. This is a stick-up," he threatened. "WW, what do you want?" Issei's mom stammered. But the man just hit her head with his gun, causing her to hit her head on the floor with a sickening thud. "Honey, what have you done to my wife?" Issei's dad shouted as he grabbed the man's arm. Thus a struggle ensued between them, with Issei's dad trying to wrestle the gun from the man's hand. Issei, after being frozen in shock, decided to jump in, trying to stop the man by grabbing him from behind. But before he did, the criminal had already gotten the upper hand. He kicked Issei's dad in the shin, causing him to stumble back and let go of the gun. The criminal pointed the gun at his father and shot him through the chest. "Dad!" Issei screamed in horror as he grabbed him under his arms from behind, keeping him in check. Issei struggled desperately to prevent the man from breaking free and pointing the gun behind him. "Let me go, kid, or I'll kill you," the man threatened, while struggling to Issei off. But Issei held on, clinging to dear life, not daring to let go. "I don't know how much longer I can hold on. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. But I don't want to die." Not like this. I must survive. Issei thought, full of fear. But then suddenly, "Hey, kid," a deep gruff voice rang in his head. Who? Issei asked mentally in shock. "You can't see me, kid. I'm in your head. But that's not important right now. Do you want power?" the voice asked. "Why, yes," Issei responded, as he tried desperately to hold the man back. Unfortunately, the man was resourceful. He decided to use his size and strength to push Issei against one of the walls. The impact hurt Issei, but he still held on to dear life. "Kid, you don't have much time. Now, let me ask you once more, do you want power?" "Yes, I do," Issei responded. "Good. Now imagine the most powerful being you can imagine and will it to happen." Issei thought for a moment and immediately thought of Son Goku from Dragon Ball, seeing as he found himself in a similar situation to when Goku fought Raditz. He closed his eyes and focused hard on Son Goku. "I want to be stronger. Stronger," he thought as the man started moving from the wall and then ramming Issei against it. Issei's head hurt and was ringing. Stronger. As Issei's head was rammed against the wall again, causing it to bleed this time. Stronger. As Issei nearly lost consciousness with the next blow against the wall. But Issei mustered everything he had to hold him. Stronger. Issei shouted, startling the criminal with his loud shout. And then, it came. Boosted gear, a bright flash, appeared, temporarily blinding them both before seeing a red gauntlet that appeared on Issei's left arm. It had a green jewel and 2 golden spikes that manifested on Issei's arm. What the hell? The criminal yelped. Issei on the other hand decided not to waste time and use his newly gained powers. Focusing on the criminal, he decided to apply more of pressure this time, putting both of his hands on the rear of his neck in a full Nelson. Boost, the crimson gauntlet rang. Power flowed through Issei the moment it happened. The criminal struggled hard to break free, but no matter how hard he tried, Issei continued to increase the pressure his neck. The man started to get frantic. "LL, let go of me. Let me go. Let me go," the man screamed. But after briefly glancing at his dying father, who was still fighting to live, and his mother, who was lying motionless, bleeding from her head, Issei was filled with rage. Rage like he had never felt in his life before. He felt nothing but utter hatred for the criminal whose neck he was about to break with his armored arm. He felt like killing him in the most gruesome way possible. "Let go of you?" Issei whispered dangerously. "You hurt my mom." Boost, the gauntlet rang. The man started gasping for air, as his windpipe was being pressured. "And my dad." Boost, it rang again, as the man started to lose his consciousness. "And for that I'll kill you," Issei shouted as his power increased one more time. "Boost, Issei screamed, as he applied more pressure on the man's nape. But then suddenly, crunch, the man's neck snapped forward in an unnatural manner, causing blood to splatter on Issei. It made a sickening crunch that made Issei stop what he was doing, as he saw the man fall down with a thud. To Issei's horror, he could see that he had not only broken his neck, but also caused the man's spine to snap, too, with part of the spine embedded in the neck jutting out. Issei just stood there shocked at what he had done, until he heard his father's raspy breathing. Issei got out of his shock and ran to his father and knelt down beside to him. "Dad. Issei didn't know what to say, nor did he know what to do, whether he should be helping his mom and dad up and call an ambulance, try to stabilize them first, or even try to explain how he got the gauntlet. "It doesn't matter. Son," Issei's dad coughed out. "Just, please, take care of your mother. Aunt. Live." Issei's dad spoke before breathing his last. "Dad. No." Issei teared up as he started to shake his father's body. "Please. Dad. Dad, wake up. Please don't do this to me. Dad. Dad. Dad." Issei screamed, cradling him, holding his now dead body close to his own. But then he let go of him, when he remembered that his mom was also hurt. "Mom," Issei shouted as he ran to his mother. He shook her, too, hoping she would respond. But her breathing had long stopped, as did her heart. On top of that, her head was continually bleeding through the open wound that was on the back of her head. For a moment, he thought he saw brain matter. Seeing this, Issei coiled back in horror. He didn't know what to do. The horror of what he had seen was too much for him. His father dying. His mother already dead. The unnatural voice and the crimson gauntlet on his arm. And the criminal that killed his parents dead, by his own hands. Issei just stood there looking around horrified, until he decided to make a run for it. He ran out of the alley with his now bloodied clothes. He sprinted to get home, not caring about his surroundings. Unfortunately, for Issei, a few people saw him run home with bloody dress shirt and pants and the gauntlet on his arm. And for those who did, they merely stood there in shock, as they saw Issei pass. Some even tried to call the police, but because it was so dark, they were unable to tell them how he looked like. All they could describe was that he was young, had a gauntlet on his left arm and was covered in blood. Arriving home at the Hyoudou residence, Issei immediately opened the door with his house key, rushed into the house and collapsed once he got in. He was completely exhausted. Nonetheless, after a minute of rest, he got up slowly and started to take off his shoes. After that he went up slowly, came into the bathroom and decided to put his clothes for washing. But the moment he did, he realized that he would do it himself because no one else would. After all, his parents were. Issei started to tear up with what had happened just a few minutes ago. His parents were just fine not even an hour ago, until that criminal came. Not only that, but Issei ended up killing someone for real. Issei looked at the red gauntlet on his arm horrified. What is this? What was that voice? Issei said to himself. He tried to pull it off, but the gauntlet stuck to him, as though it was part of his body. Don't do it. You can't pull it off, the voice spoke to him seemingly out of nowhere. Issei was startled and looked around. But then he remembered that the voice came from his head. Who? Who are you? What are you? Issei asked nervously. Partner, I know you have questions, but I think you should rest first. I'll speak to you once you're asleep, partner. Asleep? Issei asked confused. Yes, indeed. Though about the gauntlet on your arm, all you have to do to have it disappear is to dismiss it mentally. Try it. Issei looked at the gauntlet for a while. But then he decided to close his eyes and gave a mental disorder to dismiss the gauntlet. It disappeared in a flash, immediately. Good job, partner. I'll talk to you later in your sleep, the voice said, before going silent. Issei wanted to talk to him some more, but the stench of blood on his body told him he needed to take a shower first. Issei got inside and let the water flow on his bloodied body. He made sure to clean himself with soap and shampoo in order to get the soap off. But as he tried to get the soap off, the flashbacks started to come back once more. This time he remembered all that had happened during the day. Issei's late arrival to school, he and his buddies getting in trouble for breaking down the door, getting humiliated by the student council president, forced to collect trash throughout the school, being laughed at by the candle club, going to an opera, and then Issei broke down in tears, as the water continued to shower down on him. He couldn't take it anymore. He could take all those things, but not the horror of seeing his parents getting killed. The memories kept playing like a broken record, always showing him the same scenes over and over again. The memories of killing his parents' murderer didn't help him much either. The memories of him summoning the Crimson Gauntlet. The rush of magical power flowing through his body. The horrifying crunch of his neck and the blood coming from his neck. All that led to Issei scrubbing his body more intensely, making sure to clean off the smell of blood of his body. But nothing helped. In the end, Issei turned off the water, sobbing as he went to his room and got ready to sleep. As Issei lay on his bed, he was still sobbing, but now worry had crept up in his mind. What would he do if the police came by? They were probably going to identify his parents and ask him where he was last night. So he had to make up an alibi. He could say that he was at home. But Issei dismissed that thought. What if they asked Motohama and Matsuda? They would certainly tell the police that he went to the theater with his parents. So what should he say? He decided on telling them that while he did go to the theater, he left early because he hated opera, which was kind of true by the way. But other questions came up as well. What would happen to him? Would he still live here? Would he be placed in a foster home? What about money? Food? School? All these questions plagued Issei, but he decided to fall asleep, still crying over the loss of his parents. Little did he know that the crimson gauntlet and the voice within it would change his life, forever. In Issei's dreams, "It's time, what?" Issei stammered, looking around in the dark void. "It's time to tell you of your powers, the world of the supernatural and myself," the voice said, before revealing himself. What Issei saw shocked him, for before him stood a gigantic European dragon, whose scales was as red as the crimson gauntlet that appeared on Issei's arm. Its presence only screamed of power. Power to kill a god. "My name is Drake, the Welsh dragon and the Red Dragon Emperor," he exclaimed in a loud voice. "And you, partner, are my host." Issei asked, bewildered at the dragon standing before him. "Yes," the dragon nodded. "As you already know, I am inside you, or more specifically in your sacred gear." "Sacred gear?" "Yes," the dragon said before gesturing towards his arm with one of its claws. "Inside the boosted gear, the red-crimson gauntlet you manifested." Issei widened his eyes in shock, before looking at his left arm. That thing was a sacred gear? Issei thought, remembering the crimson gauntlet. "You did a good job dealing with that human criminal," the dragon complimented Issei. "My powers, as you have seen, involve boosting your strength with each new sound of the boosted gear. With each new boost you grow stronger, though there is a limit you can take with your fragile human body." "A limit?" Issei asked curiously. "Yes, once you reach that limit, the boosted gear will reset itself, going back to your base strength," the dragon explained. Issei stood there, his mind fully engrossed by everything he had witnessed. His parents' death was already shocking enough. But now he was learning that there exist things such as sacred gears and dragons, and that he had one inside his body. But how did that sacred gear end up inside of him? And how did Drake end up being inside the sacred gear to begin with? Issei asked Drake about it. "Sacred gears are born inside their hosts, though they only manifest themselves once they reach a certain level of strength, or in your case the host's desire to live or grow stronger reaches its peak. As for why I'm stuck in this sacred gear and not roaming free, it's a long story. And I suggest you sit down and listen." Issei Hyoudou, and so Issei Hyoudou sat down listening to the dragon's tale. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the first chapter. I created this fanfic because I wanted to involve the human characters of Highschool DxD into the supernatural world, especially Matsuda and Motohama, who I thought could have been better characters. I mean, they've been friends with Issei long before Issei was friends with pretty much everyone in the original story. There are a few examples that give the perverted trio more focus as a team, fighting against supernatural beings together, like humankind descending by Froggy-slice. Shame he hasn't updated his story and